Hey, what is up, folks? It's great to be here for number 20 of our weekly Mandolin Mornings live stream series here. I hope you guys are doing well, and I've been doing pretty good. I actually woke up this morning at the crack of dawn with Tabitha. We went out to like an abandoned field and filmed a new music video for our duo project, The Foreign Landers. You guys might have heard we're releasing a new EP next week, and yeah, we're really excited about it. We've been kind of releasing some of the tracks over the past few months and been working up a lot of the music during the lockdown, really at the beginning of last year when we were over in Northern Ireland for about 6 months. And yeah, this is kind of like the culmination of all that work and all that music, and definitely it kind of been a bright light throughout all the craziness of the past year and a half, or it seems like a year and a half. I guess it's not been quite that long, but anyways, that's what's been going on here. We've been gearing up for some live streams that we'll be doing as well, just the two of us. You guys can find out more on our Facebook and Instagram pages. I think we'll be going live next week on Thursday night to basically play through the entire EP live and share some of the behind the scenes info about the recording process and just the creative process behind the EP. So be sure to check that out if you guys are interested. But we're here to hang out. I want to hear what you guys are up to and hear what you've been playing, hear where you're coming from. Yeah, it's so good to catch up with you guys here, just checking out the chat here. Man, so sorry, Connie, about your left hand. I'm really, really sorry. I hope you have a speedy recovery sometime soon, but thanks so much for tuning in nonetheless. I remember I went to like a camp one time, and Mike Marshall and Katarina Lichtenberg were both there. And Mike had accidentally like sliced open his little finger here. I guess he was cooking. He's an amazing chef, and he sliced open, I guess, his fourth finger, and was basically able to still play the entire week just using these three fingers. Not that I'd recommend it, but there might be some options out there. But don't do any further damage. That's the temptation, is just to kind of push through or something like that, because it's so fun to play, and it's terrible being held back from doing stuff that you love. So sending out some prayers for Connie there. But thanks everyone for tuning in here. So many awesome familiar names. I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for making this regular occurrence so fun, and thank you guys for showing up every weekend and hanging out here. Shout out to James, to Boz, to Greg, to Dan, to George, to Connie, to Neil, all of you folks, William, Graham, thank you guys so much. Larry, oh man, you guys are fantastic. So glad to hear that you guys are hanging in there, and we'll be just playing some tunes this morning. I thought maybe we could start off with a little bit of talk about what's been going on in the mandolin world with the Mandolin Weekly, and then we can hop over to tune time, play some tunes together. If you guys have any requests for tunes that we've worked on over on Patreon or here on YouTube, just let me know, and we can line up the transcription and take a look at it together here this morning, and just have some fun jamming over these tunes you guys have all been working so hard on. So that'll be a lot of fun. But let's check out what's been going on in the mandolin world this week here. So first up, I don't know if you guys saw this, but kind of an interesting article that came out on Bluegrass today. I don't know if you guys know Akira Atsuka. He's amazing mandolin player from Japan. He lives in DC now, and he just shared these really cool black and white photos of Ralph Stanley playing in Japan back in 1971. And I'd forgotten that Ralph had brought the band over to Japan to play there. But yeah, really interesting article over on Bluegrass today, and check out these black and white photos. Isn't that so cool? There's Ralph. I don't know what venue that is, but so cool getting to see that. There's Curly Ray Klein playing fiddle there, and then I believe there's another photo here. They're just walking around outside in Japan there. That's so cool. Mile 12 got to go tour Japan back in, I guess it was 2018. It's kind of hard to believe it's been that long, but yeah, it was one of our favorite tours we've ever did. I guess we did about 5 shows while we were over there, and went to Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, and a couple other places. And yeah, the people over there were just so warm and welcoming, and amazing bluegrass players over there too. Got to jam with some folks in the different towns that we visited, and some incredible talent, just really amazing players, and people who just love bluegrass so much, which is so cool, like being on the other side of the planet and kind of being welcomed with open arms like that. So really cool stuff. Read up about that. There's been some other news in the bluegrass world. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there's a new executive director of the IBMA, and you'll probably hear me talk a lot about the IBMA if you've gotten to see my videos or know about me. I love the IBMA, the World of Bluegrass conference that they put on every year over in Raleigh, North Carolina. Is probably one of my favorite weeks of the entire year. That's actually where Tabitha and I met. So if it wasn't for the IBMA, my life would be very different. But it was very sad to hear that the previous director, Paul Schimminger, who's an amazing person, great director, had to make this step down. He just announced his retirement a few months ago. But now they've just announced that Pat Morris is taking his place, stepping up to become the new executive director. So interesting stuff there. If you guys are into kind of like the, I don't know what you call it, like the leadership of bluegrass, I guess. It's not really politics, but it's kind of interesting getting to know the people who work so hard to further further bluegrass music and to preserve its roots as well. These guys do an amazing job. So check out that article. And then a couple other kind of mandolin related stuff. I've talked about this before, but the IBMA is also doing a raffle for the last available Z mandolins, like I guess the last one that was ever built. And you can buy raffle tickets I think through May 14th, so there's still maybe a couple weeks to do this, but you can buy raffle tickets for $20 each, or you can buy 6 for $100. And all of these tickets, all the money that they raise is going to Strings for Dreams, which I believe is a cool program that gives instruments to kids, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely check that out. It's a worthy cause, and be cool to have the last ever Z mandolin, carbon fiber mandolin. Pretty cool. We've been talking about carbon fiber mandolins a little bit over on the Discord chat for you Patreon folks, and I've never really played one, but I hear that they have like very comparable sounds and feels to wooden mandolins, and having a carbon fiber mandolin around for going out on those muddy festival jams would be kind of nice to have a beater that you're not too worried about. So check that out. And then also there's a new record out. I don't know if you guys saw this over on the Mandolin Cafe. I guess this is coming out soon. It's coming out on May 7th, and it's by a mandolin player I wasn't familiar with before this, but I'm so glad I know about him now. His name's Christopher Jones, or C.E. Jones, and he's releasing a record of the Goldberg Variations by J.S. Bach. And he is a professor of composition, professor and doctor of composition, and bluegrass musician by night, this article says, which is so cool. But he teaches music, and he's worked up these cool arrangements, mandolin-specific arrangements for the Goldberg Variations that you guys should definitely check out. And there's quite a lot of them. I guess he goes through all 30 of them there, which is pretty crazy. There he is. Well, check that out for sure. I hope you guys have been listening to some other music as well. I've been digging into some Andrew Marlin, which has been a lot of fun. Love his music. Fantastic player, fantastic composer. Been also listening to like the Wes Corbett record. There's some great mandolin players on there. Let me know what you guys are listening to. I'd love to hear from y'all. What's on your playlist this past week, and who have been some of your favorite mandolin players that you've been checking out? Well, that about wraps it up for Mandolin Weekly this week. All right, well, let's see here. Catching up with what's going on in the chat. Let's see. Neil saying, Neil saying, nice. I know there are a few of us in the city when the world was normal got together and great jam bars on Fort Tryon. Yeah, there's a bar I went to in New York that had that weekly bluegrass jam. Is it Loretta's? I think that's right. Is that right? That might be kind of a fun one to check out. It's been a long time since. No, it's not Loretta's. I forget. Neil probably knows here. Hopefully there'll be some more jams happening sometime soon. I've been talking with students about all this too, because I feel like that's where all the practice kind of comes to a point in a lot of ways. It kind of brings meaning to your practice time, I guess is what I'm saying, is when you go out there and actually play music with folks and actually get to try out some of the stuff that you're working on. And you get to see the stuff that you need to keep working on afterwards. It kind of helps us refocus and make sure that we're making the most of our practice time, having that context with other musicians. So I hope you guys are finding ways of getting out there and jamming with people in a safe way. And I'm looking forward to getting out there sometime soon. Mile 12's been, hopefully gearing up for some shows towards the end of the year, so stay tuned, and maybe we can pick some tunes together if we're coming through your town sometime later. So let's see, Gwen Bear saying Ralph Stanley's son did a concert here in Columbus, Ohio 2 years ago. Oh, very cool. Yeah, Ralph Stanley has quite the legacy. I've been trying to read through his biography. He has an autobiography called Man of Constant Sorrow, I believe, and pretty heavy stuff. He had a pretty rough life, it sounded like, but an amazing artist, and just hearing his story and getting to hear him sing and play is something special. Like the Stanley Brothers in particular, their music has such a deep, kind of a deep soul to it that you don't hear in a lot of music these days, which is pretty amazing. Tatsuya, thanks so much for joining in. I'm so glad you're here from Japan. That's so cool. I'd love to get back to Japan sometime soon if we can. Let's see a couple other things here. We got, Will says, would you encourage us novices to join or support IBMA? Do members realize their benefits beyond supporting, of course? Yeah, it's a great organization, and like I said, their main cause is to help support bluegrass musicians and help support bluegrass as a music, and they do so much great stuff. As a member, you pay into all the IBMA Foundation funds. Like there's this fund for Strings for Dreams. There's also like a scholarship funds for musicians who are into bluegrass music, going to college. There's also there's like a relief fund for IBMA members who are in distress situations, health or otherwise, and all that money goes to support musicians in a real way. And as members, kind of like the main benefit is, well, one, you get like a discount on going to the conference if you want to come to that World of Bluegrass Week in Raleigh, North Carolina, and you also get to vote, which is kind of cool as well. You get to vote for all the awards that they have over there, and I think that's a kind of really fun part about being a member. Kind of like my main reason for being a member is because I want to share my opinion about who I like in bluegrass music and get to help shape the way that the music helps promote and helps kind of showcase certain individuals within the genre itself. So I think it's worthwhile. I think usually what you have to do is you have to be like kind of part of some type of musical organization, because it is a business membership kind of thing where you have to be involved in bluegrass music at a professional level to be able to get a membership. But it doesn't take much, like if you're part of like an IBMA or a bluegrass association, apart from the IBMA, I should say, like a statewide association, or you play in a bluegrass band, or you run a jam or anything like that. Those are all qualifications, I believe. So check that out if you guys are interested. And let's see here. Neil was saying that he worked in a sandwich shop and sliced off the very tip of his pinky in a delish slicer. Man, that sounds awful. I used to work in a sandwich shop in Nashville, and I lived there for a few years, and I ended up wearing like chainmail gloves just to make sure that I didn't cut off my fingers, because if I hadn't, I definitely would have cut off my little finger, I'm sure. So nice. Well, let's check out some tunes now. I thought maybe we could come over here and play through some of the stuff we've been working on Patreon recently. And again, if you guys have any requests for other lesson tunes that we've been looking at recently, let me know. We can line that up for today's stream. But let's check out, maybe we could check out Chinkapin Hunting here. Sorry, I did a party foul. I dropped my pick. Let me pick this up. Doesn't happen too often. But let's see if we can play through this tune here. I've been digging this one quite a lot. I was just talking through my 5-step fiddle tune improv process to another student recently, and been thinking about how to try to play these melodies in different places. And this video, the lesson for this this tune, I should say, we talked about how you can play the melody in a couple different octaves, right? So for this tune, it's great to play the melody in the original octave. Let's see. You can also play that same melody in the same position, just an octave higher, right? And that sounds great. So, it's just the melody, but it gives you twice as many options when it comes to improvising. You can reference the melody in 2 different places. Same with the B section, right? The B section usually goes... or you can play in a lower octave as well. It would be a... Oh, how'd that go? Something like that. Yeah, I apologize my little blunders there, but you get the idea. You know, you can play that melody in a couple different spots. And one thing I've been thinking about recently is taking those melodies to higher positions up the neck. And you guys know I like talking about this as well, but I think this one would probably work maybe in a couple different positions. Maybe as a warm-up too. I was talking with another student recently about how basically there's 4 different ways to play a melody in closed position, right? Basically one different way for every finger that we use on the fretboard there, right? So if you wanted to, I'll see if I can even do this on the fly. You could do something like this, right? Or maybe you're starting with your index finger on the root. What would that be like? So if you have like your index finger on the root up here on the 7th fret of that G string, you could do something like this. You know, if you're playing out of this scale position, you could do a... something like that, where you could play through the entire melody just around this one shape, right? But that's not the only way, right? That we have 3 other ways that we could do this too. What if we kind of just went down the line and played through this melody on a different finger? Like, check this out. What if you played it with your middle finger on that same D, the 7th fret of the G string? Let's see, how would that be? Oh, I need to work on that one. That one's kind of hard. Like that, you know, might need to change the melody here and there to kind of fit within a certain position, but that would be a really great exercise. It expands your options even further. Now you have 2 different ways of playing the melody up the neck. What if you went down to your ring finger and had your ring finger on the root here, right? What would that be like? Something like that, right? It's almost out of a chop chord shape. And then we have one last iteration of this melody too. We could finger the melody now with your 4th finger, your little finger. Not if you sliced it on a deli slicer though, you know, maybe not. But if your 4th finger is feeling all right, you can grab that 4th finger on the root there, the 7th fret. And it'd be like playing the melody kind of in the first position, but we wouldn't be using any open strings. Might be like this. Let's see. Oh, what would that be? Let me try that again. Something like that, right? You know, it's something that whenever I have time to really think about a fiddle tune, I find that so rewarding because it helps me think about a melody in 4 different ways. And it just kind of frees up my ability to express myself a bit better. Obviously, you know, I need to work on it some more, but when I spend the time to really feel out a familiar melody in these different situations, I can take those same melodic vocabulary ideas to other tunes, or I can, you know, have a better chance at playing those same 4-finger position shapes for other melodies as well. So maybe, you know, as a fun exercise this morning or later on this afternoon after we're done here, see if you can play through a tune like Chink Been Hunting like that. Closed position, up the neck, 4 different ways. Just think about, okay, if I find the root with each one of my 4 fingers here, what would this melody sound like? What would this melody feel like in these new positions here? So my little practice challenge for you this weekend. But you know, if you're up for it, try it on the fly. If not, let's just try playing through this melody as we know it for now. We'll just go back and forth a few times. And if you're unfamiliar with these chords, we just have 4 chords in this tune. We've got D major. You know, you can just play your regular old open D chord, your regular old open A chord. We also have on that B part, we have a G chord. And then the only other one is our E minor towards the end. You know, you can either do like this open 2-2 open, or sometimes I like to do 4-2-2 open, similar, but either one works great. So I'll play through this melody first. We'll take it kind of nice and slow to warm up here, and then we'll go back and forth here. So here we go. right, your turn. So we have a D chord back to A, just back and forth a few times. Now onto the B section, we have a G chord. To the E minor, A, back to G. All right, let me have a go at this. Your turn. To that B section now. All right, let's try playing the melody together. Chinkapin Hunting. What a great tune, right? Well, I'm sure you guys are sounding fantastic on this one. Thanks so much for picking. Hope that was fun, kind of exploring some of those different positions. I did end up getting up the neck there a little bit, but I didn't try all four of those different closed position shapes. But yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking about that. So, okay, cool. Let's see here. Greg says, moving melodies to other positions really opens up thinking and understanding. Yeah, I think so, right? It's like, I don't know how to describe it really. It's like the difference between, being able to regurgitate the answers for a test and really understanding the topic that you're talking about, right? It's like the difference between multiple choice and essay almost, where it's like you understand not only what the right answer is, but how to express yourself intelligently. And once you've gone through the all that work of knowing how the melody works in these different situations. So yeah, the melody is really the key to, I think, your expression on these fiddle tunes, like knowing the melody in different octaves to start with, then different positions, and then different fingerings for those positions. And once you do that and you're able to switch between them on the fly, practicing the different phrase lengths on different positions, different phrase lengths on different octaves, and weaving in between them, it just does so much for everything in your playing. It's pretty cool. So check that out. Let's see here. We got some more discussion about IBMA. Yeah. I think, Will, it's a great way to support bluegrass, and voting is kind of a really cool perk, but even more so, it's just like a fun way to become a part of the community. I've been going to IBMA that World of Bluegrass conference for now like 7 or 8 years, and it's kind of like I said, my favorite week, and all my friends come out there every year. I learned so much being there, being with other musicians. There's a festival that happens. It's so much fun. They shut down like the whole of Raleigh, and the whole city comes out, and there's like 20 stages downtown, tons of great bluegrass. All of like the who's who of the bluegrass world kind of comes out, and you can see like Dan Tominski walking down the hallway with his like his golf clubs and cigars and stuff like that, and Alison Krauss over there, and Ron Block, and all these great amazing musicians. And it's just, you feel like you get to be a part of the community, which is probably the most valuable part about joining the IPMA. And I want to support them. That's why I try to renew my membership every year. And James, I do believe you can be a member outside the U.S. if you're interested. I standing for international, the IBMA, it definitely has an international presence. There's folks who travel all the way from the UK to go there, all the way from Japan, all the way from all over the world. So that's another fun part of it. It's like people make it a pilgrimage and really come out every year. I hope they'll be able to make it happen in person this year, and we're planning to be there if it is, for sure. So check that out for sure. Let's see. Uncle Bobby says, while playing rhythm in the pattern, are you using down, down, up? Oh yeah, good question. So when I'm playing, when I'm just playing chords, basically what's going on with my right hand is the exact same thing that would happen when I'm playing single note melodies. And I know the screen's a little bit small right now on my hand. Maybe I'll come over to the main scene here so you can see a little bit more up close. But the idea is that when you play through a melody, you're trying to allow your downstrokes to line up with the beats in the measure. So when you're playing through that tune, you're doing 1, 1, 2. I can't even talk while I play. How do you do this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh man, I need to work on this. It's almost like singing and playing, right? Talking and playing is even harder in a weird way. So all I have to say, my downstrokes should be lining up on the beats in the measure, and it doesn't matter like what rhythms I'm playing, whether I'm playing quarter notes or eighth notes. It's all just happening where I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I might be adding in some eighth notes with those upstrokes, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. But really, the cool thing is that my right hand should be moving at the same pace and the same rate no matter what rhythms I'm playing. I'm just keeping my right hand alternating. And basically, if you couldn't hear me play through this tune and just saw my right hand, you shouldn't really be able to tell what notes I'm playing or what rhythms I'm playing just by the pick direction, because I'm always just doing this motion no matter what string I'm on, no matter what rhythm I'm playing. I'm just applying the pick to the strings whenever I hear the note happening. And I think it's the exact same thing with chords too, right? That's why I don't really talk about strum patterns too much. I think strum patterns are a helpful tool to get started, where if you're just, totally new on how to play chords or how to strum a mandolin or a guitar, and it might help to do something like this where you're doing like a, down, down, up, down, down. That's a really easy strum pattern. But if you notice, I'm actually doing the exact same thing with my right hand, where it doesn't matter what picks or what notes or what rhythms I'm playing, it's just always the same motion, down, up, down, up, down, up. And I'm just, again, applying the pick to the string whenever I want to play a strum. So what ends up happening to me is I just kind of rely upon that rhythmic grid, and I don't necessarily subscribe to a certain pattern, but I just try to keep my hand alternating no matter what, and then I'll just apply my pick to the strings at different points. I might end up doing something like this, like a... stuff like that, and adding in like maybe some little runs and little melodies in between the chord shapes. But again, my right hand is always the same. It's just going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And then sometimes I'm removing my pick away from the string, so it seems like I'm doing different stuff, but it's still that same pattern. And I don't know, the best way to practice is maybe to find a couple strum patterns that you feel comfortable with, like maybe doing like down, down, up, down, down, that simple one I mentioned. And then try some like variations, maybe doing like some, down, down, up, down, down, up. That's another good one. It's just adding an extra upstroke at the end of that measure. To be a 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4. Pretty easy. And then it gets a little bit harder when you start taking out the downstrokes and still having the upstrokes in there. So like another one that I kind of use a lot, it's pretty common, it might be something like this, where you're doing down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, up. It's kind of more of a folky strum. Yeah, so it's the same idea there, right? If you look at my right hand, I'm still alternating the exact same way. I'm just, not using certain downstrokes or certain upstrokes. I'm just kind of moving away from the strings, across the strings, so that makes sense. So maybe try those out and then see if you can kind of mix and match them. You don't have to stick to the same strum pattern for the entire song either. Just maybe you could do one measure of like down, down, up, down, 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 up, down. You can make it a 2 measure pattern if you wanted to, or just try to start with one and then see if you can make changes on the fly too. That's probably the best thing to do, is see if you can have some freedom in the moment to change it up. I hope that's helpful, Uncle Bobby. We should do like some more lessons on rhythm playing and on chords in particular too. That's on my bucket list. On my Patreon bucket list. Yeah. And thanks so much for the shout out, Connie. We've got like a couple lessons on pick directions over on YouTube and on Patreon. And there's I think a lot of application from the single note pick direction ideas to the 4-string pick direction ideas when you're strumming. It should kind of be the same thing, I think. Only thing that's different is that when you're playing single notes, you're just moving your hand a little bit in a smaller way. You're not making quite as wide of a sweep to play all 4 sets of strings. Let's see here, another comment from William. We got, at my level, I struggle with exact, precise sliding. I know about the straightening finger approach, but do you have any slide exercises? Repeated moves are not like the songs. Yeah, I gotcha, William. Yeah, that's a definite challenge when it comes to playing the mandolin. It's such a mandolinistic thing to do. Like, I don't hear like fiddle players doing quite as much slides as mandolin players do, or even guitar players. It's like kind of we have a lot of freedom on the mandolin to make slides a big feature, which is cool. So here's what I would say. There's a couple different approaches to slides. Like you mentioned, the straightening finger approach. That's where maybe you like kind of keep your hand in the same position, and then you just allow your finger to straighten out like this. I don't actually like doing that quite as much, just because it feels a little bit more variable and you're relying upon the strength of just one finger instead of your entire hand. So some people like that. That might be something to explore a little bit more. It might be easier like to do it when you're just sliding on your middle finger or on your index finger. It might be a little bit easier to just straighten out the finger and get to the fret that you need to. But sometimes I find myself like sliding longer distance. Like maybe I'll slide from like the 4th fret to the 7th fret. That's a big sound, right? I know we do that in Brilliancy, right? And for that, it doesn't really work to just keep your hand in the same place and just slide the finger up. I can only really get up to the 6th fret that way instead of the 7th fret. So what I'd recommend is maybe try using an entire hand slide approach. I don't know what the right term is for this hand slide, or kind of a position slide almost, where you're maybe sliding from like that slide that we have here in chinkapin hunting as well. I guess it's the same slide from the 4th fret to the 7th fret of your D string. Instead of just straightening your middle finger, see if you can like shift your entire hand as you slide. Like, I'm not actually moving any muscles in my middle finger. All I'm doing is I'm keeping my hand in the same formation and then just sliding my entire hand up as a unit. I even kind of moving some from my shoulder or my forearm. It doesn't feel too unnatural to do that for me, but you have to kind of figure out what feels the most comfortable and most natural for you. So I'd recommend trying that out. I like this too because you have the momentum of all that mass behind your entire hand and your forearm that's kind of coming with you as you're sliding, which in my mind makes it a little bit easier to keep that smoothness going from the first pitch to the last pitch of the slide. Otherwise you might have something like that going on, where if you're just moving your finger, you might accidentally get caught up on one of those other frets and have this kind of almost jerky sound in the slide, when you really just want it to be the smooth, continuous motion from the first pitch to the last pitch. So what I'd recommend doing is just try finding like a slide and a tune that you're having trouble with. And it's always helpful to do this in the context of real music. So if you're working on chinkapin hunting and you're having trouble with that slide from the 4th to the 7th fret, just sit in front of the television when no one else is around, watch your favorite TV show, and then just do this for about 30 minutes. Making sure that you're making every slide exactly the way you want it to be. And then you're basically just building up that muscle memory to judge the distance between the first note and the last note, and how you can keep that momentum and that motion steady throughout the entire slide. So yeah, I'd check that out, the slides can happen on any finger and any combination of frets too. So, it's helpful to practice a bunch of different ones. So if there's another tune that you're working on that has a different slide, like Squirrel Hunters, for instance, we've been looking at that on the site too. That one uses your ring finger from the 5th fret of the A string to the 7th fret of the E string. That's a really popular one. People use that for Old Joe Clark, for what else? Like tons of other tunes in the key of A. That's a good one to practice. Another one that you can do is I don't know if we have any tunes on the site that use this slide, but you can do like this slide from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret on your D or your A string. Those are really popular slides, even on the G string there. If you want to maybe just practice that for like 30 minutes in front of the TV, see what it feels like after that. But again, like always finding an example and a real piece of music that you're working on. So that way you're not just practicing slides for the sake of slides, you're practicing slides for the sake of chinkapin hunting or whatever real piece of music you're working on there. I hope that's helpful. And yeah, and I think slides are kind of one of the coolest embellishments too. I've heard like Emery Lester talk about this, how the slide kind of is the one embellishment that we have that kind of imitates the human voice. When you hear a great singer sing like a beautiful rendition of like a folk song or a bluesy song or something like that, you often hear this vocalist kind of scoop into the note. They won't just have a laser beam focus and land directly on the note that they're looking for. There's kind of like some sliding going on in the voice almost, and that's the only way we can do that on the mandolin, just because we have these frets. There's no glissando or no way of kind of changing the pitch from less than 1/2 step at a time, if that makes sense, like you can with the voice. So the slide is kind of like the closest thing we have to that, and it's a really nice way to make your melody sound a bit more human, or a bit more kind of natural or interpretive in a cool way. So great question. Let's see, another question here from Dan Stune. And David, do you teach private lessons online? And I actually do. I've been teaching quite a lot this past month in April. I've been accepting some new students, and if anyone's interested, you can check out more info over on my website. I've got an entire page on it and a video for like a little intro too. And yeah, I love meeting with folks online. This is kind of like my setup for lessons here. So if you sign up, this is kind of like what we get, but we get to talk one-on-one, and we get to you get to hang out and focus on the things that you're working on. And it's pretty easy too. I've got my availability up on this website called Calendly, and you just kind of pick the slot that works for you, and that's it. It kind of handles all the processing and the scheduling and the Zoom link, and you get like notifications before the lesson as reminders. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've been enjoying that this year, and I've been looking for a few more students to fill some slots. If anyone's interested, you can find more info on my website. But thanks for asking, Dan. That means a lot. So, well, great discussion. Keep up the questions. Keep up everything that's going on here, and let's maybe pick another tune. So let's come back over to tune time. Well, again, if there's any requests, sorry if I missed any, but if there's any requests for tunes that we've been looking at on Patreon, just let me know here. But we've been talking about I've been talking about this tune with a couple other students as well recently, and thought maybe we'd revisit this one. We played this one maybe a few weeks ago. Apologies, you can't see the title here. But it's a great tune called Done Gone, and this one's weird because it's in the key of B flat, and it's pretty difficult. But maybe we could take it really slow, and I'll just walk you through a few of the little ins and outs of the melody here. I did a lesson on this one, I guess it was last year sometime. We ended up recording this song with Jacob Jolliffe and a few other New York musicians, Michael Daves and Tony Trishka, and we got together and just kind of jammed on this tune. Jake worked up a harmony part, and I transcribed both the melody and the harmony from that video, and put it in a lesson. You guys can check it out if you're interested. But here's just the melody as I know it, and this is an interesting tune because it kind of oscillates between B flat major, which I know is a little bit of a tricky key to start with, but then in the B section it almost like switches gears a little bit and goes to G minor, which is the relative minor key of B flat, but there's a couple of changed notes in this one here. We have this F sharp that happens in the B section on these triplets to watch out for. We go like a kind of a fun little acrobatic thing, but it's all in the first position. The fingerings are pretty easy. You don't even have to use your pinky too much. There's just like one little part, I think, in that first section there where we have to use our fourth finger on that high B flat on the E string. If you're unfamiliar with it, how about I'll just play through the melody once to start us off, and then we'll go over the chords really quick, and then we'll just try playing it real slow together if you're up for it. Don't worry about this last line. That's just kind of a tag ending. These first four lines are the ones we're looking at. So here's the basic melody, and just take a listen and follow through on this chart as we go along. So it goes something like this. The B section. Something like that. We're going to that F at the end of that second ending of the B section, which brings you back to the top of the A section again. So it's one of those tunes that, again, it's a little bit hard to end because there's kind of this continuous flow from one section to the next. And then let's check out the chords real quick too. There's just maybe 4 or 5 different chords here. We got B flat, which if you're looking for like kind of a nice B flat shape to use, one of my go-tos is this one right here. It's 3-3-5. If you want to, you can add in like this extra note with your fourth finger on the 6th fret of the E string. But it works just as well as a 3-note chord. These are all the 3 notes that we need for the B flat chord. And you can just kind of mute the E string with your index finger or with another free finger if you want to. It's a great chord. All right, for G minor, you guys might know this one, but if you like think about your G major chord, to make this a G minor, all you have to do is lower your index by 1 fret this way towards the nut here. So we have B flat, G minor. Those are the primary 2 chords we have, but there's a couple different ones. At the end of the A section, or into each line on the A section, we also have an F chord, and here's a nice F shape that I like to use. It's 5, 3, open, 1. It's a nice one. Again, it's 5, 3, open, 1. It's kind of like it almost is like the G major chop chord, just move 2 frets back, and then we just kind of refinger it to make it a little bit easier with these 3 fingers there. And then lastly, we have a D7 in the B section, and a nice way to make your open D chord a D7 is to add your ring finger on the 3rd fret of the A string there. So exact same shape as your open D. The only thing we're changing is instead of playing the open A, now we have that C natural note on the 3rd fret of your A string with your ring finger there. So those would be some good chord shapes to start with. And take some time feeling that out. If you don't know the melody, feel free just to play the chords along with this, or you can noodle around in the key of B flat. Kind of a great shape to start with is just this closed position B flat scale. If you don't know that one, that's a really helpful shape to kind of get familiar with, because it's one of the easiest and most straightforward closed position major scale shapes out there, right? We're starting with the root note on our index finger, which is the first fret on the A string. Then we're just walking up whole step, 2 frets, whole step. And then we have a half step on our fourth finger on the 6th fret of that A string. So that's kind of like the finger shape you have for the A string, and then it's also the same for the E string too, where you have first fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 6th fret, or whole step, half step on the E string as well. So if you want to, you can kind of noodle around with that shape for the most of this tune, and it's going to sound pretty good. Stuff like that, just have some fun with this one. And whenever you're ready, let's try this out together. We'll do this one really slow too, since I know it is pretty challenging. But let's give this a go here. Something like this. Maybe I'll start us off around here. All right, I'll play the melody. Onto that B. Your turn. So we have B flat now. G, B flat to an F. Back to B flat. Quick G minor. B flat, F, back to B flat. All that again. Onto the B section. Now we have this big G minor. D7. Back to G minor. D7, G minor. Back to that D7. Quick F. Let me take a go. Here we go. B flat, G minor, B flat, F. Onto the B section here, we have G minor, D7. All right, let's try this together. flat. That's a tough one, right? Nice work though, folks. How's that feeling? How's that coming along here? Let's see here, catching up with stuff. Will says, I don't know if I make it that good, but well, thanks so much, man. That really means a lot. It is, and I think it is a good one to practice for that first fret position, like you were saying. You know, it fits within that shape really well, and it really just kind of helps. I don't know. It helps see other keys in better lights too. Like you can take that same shape to other keys, such as E flat major, right? You can move that whole shape up a string. Or even if you want to find like a shape up the neck if you wanted to. All you have to do is find the root note with your index finger and that same shape applies. Like if you find yourself ever having to play an F sharp for some reason, if you can just find that F sharp on the 4th fret of your D string, it works pretty well, right? And I guess like the A section melody, it fits almost in a whole kind of closed position. You do just have like your open A string and open D string to worry about, but you could do, you know, like a something like that, where you tried to play the entire melody in this shape without the open strings, but in a different key too, like F sharp or something like that, right? That's kind of an interesting thing. If you're up for another cool practice challenge, I say cool, it's kind of nerdy. You guys probably know I'm a bit of a nerd by now, but yeah, one of the coolest things that I think you can do is to take a tune like this and try to play it through all 12 keys. I don't even know if I can do it with this tune. This is a bit of a notey tune to do it with, but like say if you wanted to take, you know, this from B flat to E flat next, you know, maybe the next key on the circle of fourths, I should say, like a the next one would be A flat, I guess. What would that be? Be a little bit harder now because now you're having to change fingers, but you could do I need to work on that one, man. That's tough. It might be easier to finger it with a different shape, but you know, it kind of helps you get through those 4 finger positions for melody just in different keys as well. So if you guys are up for another challenge, I think that's what I'll be doing later today, is taking Done Gone through 12 keys to see if I can do it. Great discussion here. Let's see. Yeah, for the B flat chord, if you're interested, it's 3-3-5. I think that's a nice shape to start with. Well, Uncle Bobby, you still with us? I'm sorry. I know it's really hard to play in this key, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. Oh, and Gwen's got some great questions here. Let's see. Gwen says, is it standard to syncopate everything in bluegrass? And I actually I just made this video lesson for there's a magazine called Bluegrass Unlimited that's doing some lesson tutorials on their YouTube channel, and I was happy to send in a lesson for them to feature. I think it should be coming out next week, but I talk a little bit about this idea of swinging the 8th notes and about right hand feel in particular, because I think it is pretty standard in bluegrass to swing the 8th notes. Hopefully that's what I'm on the same page here. When you mean by syncopate, the idea of kind of adding a little extra time to the first 8th note out of every pair, right? So instead of playing the tune like a instead of playing everything really even like that, which is often standard for a lot of other styles of music, like classical or I'm trying to think, even like even other styles out there as well. But for most oral traditions, like even jazz, if you think about Celtic music, has this same idea. They all have their own kind of flavors and different nuances in this genre or in this particular area, but they all swing the 8th notes, and that's kind of an interesting thing. So instead of playing, you're playing. I think it sounds really nice. And in this video. I'll be sharing it on Patreon sometime soon. Be sharing it on social media, so watch out for it. But basically, I go through like a few different exercises to help you feel more confident doing that. The first is just to see if you can delineate the two, like you can hear those two differences, and to see if you can play on either end of the spectrum, so to speak. Like see if you can intentionally play something really straight, like a tune like this, and then see if you can do the opposite, like swing it as hard as you would ever swing it, or not even practically swing it, like swing it beyond that, like a honky-tonk piano player, like a it doesn't sound very nice for bluegrass, but just getting used to that feeling and seeing what it's like to spend some time there. And then you better understand kind of the middle ground where most mandolin players operate. And you get to see within that area, there's so many different flavors and nuances too, and every player has their own particular preference on where they sit in this spectrum too. Like Sam Bush is more towards the swingy side, Sierra Hull is more towards the straight side, but they are in the middle. They're not on either end of the spectrum totally. They're kind of sitting somewhere between straight and between swing. I think that's a fun exercise. Like see if you can play it straight, see if you can swing it, and then just like practice this on an open string too. If you're just getting started and you don't know what it's like to actually do this on a tune, see if you can go from playing like a measure of straight eighth notes to a measure of swung eighth notes. So you could do like a 1, 2, 3, 4, swing, straight, swing, straight, swing. Being able to switch back and forth on a flip of a coin, or to turn on a dime, so to speak, I guess is the right phrase, is really helpful to have that much control and specificity over it. But that's not the only thing that goes into feel. Like I think there's certain accents that you can really accomplish too with your right hand that can help add to that swing feel, and also to the way that your music's coming across. Like here's an interesting exercise too. Like see if you can play through the melody of this tune, or if you're not familiar with this tune, try it on like a really familiar tune. But see if you can accent the downstrokes of the entire melody, like all the downstrokes, all the beats in the measure, like overemphasize that. And this is kind of a dangerous thing, because a lot of people do this unintentionally, and they'll overemphasize the downstrokes, and the upstrokes will suffer. They won't sound quite as strong. It'll feel a little bit kind of jarring, strong, weak, strong, weak, strong, weak kind of thing. Because even though we're swinging the eighth notes here, where the downstrokes are getting a little bit extra time and a little bit more emphasis and a little bit more importance, we don't want the upstrokes to suffer. We still want them to be heard. We still want them to sound even with the downstrokes. But a way to kind of combat that is to actually intentionally overemphasize the downstrokes. I know it sounds kind of contrary, but again, if you can do something intentional, it's way easier to change things up later on. So see if you can play all those downstrokes intentionally over accent. Like let's see, and still keep that swing going too if you can. Let me try that again. That's really hard, isn't it? It doesn't sound very nice. It sounds like kind of bouncy and a little bit kind of uneven. But see if you can do that. That would be my first advice to you. Then see if you can start doing different combinations. I'm seeing that Adam's been doing this, but only on the 2 and the 4. Yeah, we'll get to that in just a second. I like to start with the 1 and the 3 first, because that's maybe a little bit easier to feel. So we did all 4 beats in the measure just there, but what if we took away 2 of those beats and just played on the 1st and the 3rd beats of the measure? It might sound something like this. And trying to accent those beats, I should say. We're playing all the notes, but we're trying to accent the beats 1 and 3. So it'd be a... Right? It already sounds different. It's kind of interesting. And then what if you did one step further? See if you can play just one accent per measure. Let's accent the downstroke maybe, or the downbeat, I should say, the first beat in the measure. So at the beginning of every measure, see if you can accent that first downstroke. It might sound something like this. interesting, right? It might not be a way that you ever want to play this in a jam, but it just shows you where you are in the song a lot more clearly. It kind of gives you some rhythmic landmarks to shoot for, and it also just gives you more control over the other notes that you're not accenting, right? Because you have to underemphasize the notes that you're not accenting too, so you're really kind of being more expressive and more intentional with your right hand. I think just doing these different exercises can help elevate your feel with your right hand to the next level. And if you're up for it, try this other challenge that Adam was talking about, where you're emphasizing the back beats, the same beats that you would if you're chopping, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So what if you did that with the melody now, which is really hard actually. You don't accent the really strong beats in the measure, beats 1 and 3 like we did before, but we're kind of doing the opposite. And this does feel a bit syncopated, like you mentioned, Gwen, where it almost feels like you're kind of feeling the rhythm or the accents in unexpected places. Let's see if I can do this. It might be something like this. Right, interesting. It's I like that a lot. I think that's maybe the most musical out of all those different accents. But it helps to do those other ones first to kind of work up to this weird one where you're accenting the 2 and the 4. But it does feel almost like a fiddle shuffle and a little bit more, almost like a similar quality to the 8th note swing, where it makes the rhythm feel a little bit more natural and a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more folky and a little bit more authentic for the bluegrass scene. So I'd check that out. Like, see if you can play through a tune today with those different accents, and then ultimately work up to the 8th note swing and having the accents on the 2 and the 4. We'll see. I think it's specifically really helpful for playing faster like that, or even faster, because it just gives you like a better rhythmic grid to lock into, where you're not thinking about all the notes in the measure as being equal in importance. You're thinking about specific parts of the measure as being the most important aspects, to really highlight those and to really bring out the most in this tune here. So let's see here. Will's saying, so cool, accents on different places. I think that accents on measures 2 and 4 would be 1, 2, and 4. Can you do that? Let's see. So on measure 2 here, we've got we have 4 eighth notes at the beginning of the measure, and we also have 2 quarter notes at the end of the measure. So I think I was playing it where I was accenting both the 2 and the 4. I don't know if I was accenting the 1 intentionally. I may have unintentionally, but I'd say, like, for that exercise, see if you can accent the 2nd and the 4th beat. Even if there's changing rhythms, we're still playing notes on all those beats, so you have the opportunity to accent those notes if you want to. And yeah, Gwen, try that out with Cold Frosty Morning. That's awesome. Yeah. Accenting those downstrokes. I think it's deceptively hard, and it might even affect your experience playing through the tune as well, where sometimes I'll do this and I'll forget how the tune goes just because I'm hearing it so differently, or I'm experiencing it so differently. So take your time. It's something that needs patience. But yeah, I hope that helps. And Will, I appreciate you saying about that straightening thing too. I hope that's helpful. The slides, try that. Yeah, try that whole hand slide and see what that does for you. Let's see here. Well, Gwen is also saying practicing in front of the TV is not concentrating totally good for muscle memory. Yeah, I think that's a good question. I mentioned that earlier as far as like practicing slides. If you want to try out this kind of whole hand slide thing, and not worry about kind of getting distracted or anything like that. I actually do like doing this in front of the TV. Maybe that sounds kind of counterintuitive or kind of contrary to what I'm trying to say here, but basically, when I practice, sometimes I'll practice a couple different ways. So first, I'll try practicing really focused, making sure that those slides are the way I want them to be, the way that they sound good. I'm not overshooting. I'm kind of getting to the right fret at the right time, and everything's really smooth. And once I've got it down, to build up the muscle memory, I actually like to do this in front of a TV, and just because I feel like it gives me a level of I don't know what the right word is, kind of passivity, to not allow my brain to kind of interfere with what I'm doing. And yeah, I think there's kind of a two-sided coin to practice, where there's the act of practicing where you are ironing out those details and being really focused, and then there's kind of like the muscle memory part, or the passive practicing, where it just takes a lot of sweat equity to work up those things. And I find sometimes like watching the TV will help me build that up in a deeper way, in some weird way. And I there's other musicians out there who talk about this. That's not just my opinion. Like Victor Wooten, the bass player for the Flecktones, Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, he does this quite a lot, as well as Ned Luberecki, the banjo player of the year at the IBMA a couple years back. Yeah, other musicians do this as well. So I would say try it out, Gwen. See what you think, and we'll get back to me on it. So let's see here. I guess we're running towards the end of our time here. Maybe we could play just one more tune to kind of button things up here. Let's see. Maybe we could try our version of 9 Pound Hammer here. I don't know if you guys have been checking out this tune. We've been figuring out how to play it in a few different keys, and maybe we could try this out in the key of A if you guys are up for it. This is the solo that I was kind of teaching you guys, with some double stops and some hammer-ons and some slides and all that kind of stuff. So feel free to play the version of the tune that you know, and I won't trouble you with my singing here. We'll just maybe play this as an instrumental piece, but maybe to close our time here, we could just take a few passes on this tune and bring it home here. So let's see. Let's see if I can even play this anymore. It's been a little while. Let's see if I can read through the arrangement here. We'll just take it nice and slow to kind of finish things up. How about like this tempo? And then again, this is a really simple song, just 3 chords, A, D, and E. Simple form. We're not repeating the form. We're just kind of going through the 16 measures, and then I'll pass it on to you here. So here we go. A 1, 2, a 1. Turn to that 4-chord D. Onto that 3rd line to the D. A, D. All right, let me take a go here. Here we go. Something like that. All right, let me take another solo here. Here we go, one more time. All right, let's maybe try it together. Here we go. that. Nice work, folks. Cool. Well, it's great playing with that A major arrangement, but check out the B flat and the B major arrangements as well. You know, we talked about tough keys like B flat and getting familiar with changing keys from one tune to the next. You can even take this arrangement through all 12 keys if you wanted to. It's such a popular song and it gets played in a lot of different keys. So check that out for sure. Well, let's see here. I'll catch up with a couple of comments here before we wrap up. Let's see. Oh, nice, Ron. Bandmate's working on Big Spike Hammer. That's the tough one, right? Yeah, B flat's a weird key, but that's a great tune. I love the Bluegrass album band's version of that one. Oh, and Adam's talking about here about accenting the upstrokes. Yeah. So that's a great observation here. So 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and yeah. So that's a good concept as well. Maybe I'll leave it to this video lesson that's coming out later. But I talk about that as well. I'll be posting about it soon. That's one thing you can do if you want to, is like see if you can accent all the upstrokes just like we did for the downstrokes. But what I'd say is even a harder exercise is to see if you can flip your upstrokes and your downstrokes. It's something I like to talk about a bit. But like if you're playing through that tune, Done Gone, instead of doing downs on every beat in the measure, see if you can do ups on the beats of every measure and flip where your ups and your downs usually happen, which is really hard. So it'd be something like a, we'll see, I can't even do that. That's hard, right? And you're trying to accent those upstrokes since they're happening on the beats in the measure. And again, I think these things are almost like, they're not very practical exercises in the sense that you're going to take that concept and try to play a tune that way in a jam, or even accent all the upstrokes in a jam, or accents all the downstrokes in a jam. What it does, it just kind of gives you some specificity of what you're able to do with your right hand so that you can be more intentional with the accents that you're playing later on. So, yeah, I'd recommend checking that one out as well. Like, see if you can accent the upstrokes as well as the downstrokes in different ways. And take it as far as you want to as well. Like you can accent certain upstrokes over others if you want to, or try to play with the eighth note swing feel when you're reversing the pick strokes as well. That's all really good considerations too. So I hope that's helpful, and be sure to check all that stuff out. So I think we're out of time for today. It's been a good session, a long one here. Thanks for sticking in and hanging out with us, and thanks for all the questions and the discussions. It's been really great getting to see you guys. So keep up the good work on the playing. And again, you can find all the transcriptions for these tunes that we played today over on Patreon. If you guys haven't checked it out, you can find out more info and a link in the description below here. And shout out to all you patrons. Again, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for joining and supporting the cause. And I hope you guys are having fun with all the material over there. So yeah, well, in the meantime, keep up the good work. Your practice challenge for this week is to see if you can play a tune in closed position 4 different ways with each finger, and also see if you can maybe take a tune through a few different keys. You can take a tune like Done Gone around the circle of fourths if you want to. So check that out. Lots of stuff, and we'll see you guys next week, same time. Check it out. We'll be here for the next few weeks at 11 a.m. Every week, 11 a.m. Eastern on YouTube. So tell your friends, tell your mandolin friends, and thanks again for all of you good folks who tune in every week for making this real special. 20 weeks in, that's pretty amazing. And we got lots more coming soon. So in the meantime, happy picking, and I'll talk to you guys later. All right, take care.